This week, the week of August 8th, we are having something that is called a square. A square is an astrological aspect where things can become a little bit more strenuous, more of a challenge. Like, think of a square, there are four opposing corners, and that there is a problem in each corner that you have to get through and learn lessons from. And it's kind of the energy that's happening this week. So Saturn, our planet of restriction, is really throwing in a interesting square this week. It is forcing us to look at our responsibilities, assessing how well we are living with our truth and our authentic selves. And Mars is going to be squaring that Saturn, and this can be super frustrating, and it can feel like we're having to work harder to pursue our goals than normal and feeling that resistance to moving forward, because Mars energy is all about pushing forward at all costs.
We know that you were born magical. We know that you are intuitive, and we know that you are brimming with everyday enchantment. Here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe in intention, we believe in intuition, and we believe in everyday magic. Welcome in to the Expedition to Soul podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast. My name is Anna. I'm the co-founder here at the Sisters Enchanted, and welcome to another weekly astro forecast as a part of our Expedition to Soul podcast. Thank you all for joining me today. This week, the week of August 8th, we are having something that is called a square. A square is an astrological aspect where things can become a little bit more strenuous, more of a challenge. Like, think of a square, there are four opposing corners, and that there is a problem in each corner that you have to get through and learn lessons from. And it's kind of the energy that's happening this week. So Saturn, our planet of restriction, is really throwing in a interesting square this week. It is forcing us to look at our responsibilities, assessing how well we are living with our truth and our authentic selves. And Mars is going to be squaring that Saturn, and this can be super frustrating, and it can feel like we're having to work harder to pursue our goals than normal and feeling that resistance to moving forward, because Mars energy is all about pushing forward at all costs. And then Saturn, this gaseous planet that wants to expand but is surrounded by rings, that's being controlled by rings, being not controlled, but held in, retained by rings. So you can feel some real resistance. Mars wants to expand and Saturn holds on, and it's like, no, it's like a deep bear hug holding you back and saying, no, you need to work a little bit harder. So Mars is going to feel this pressure when they want to push forward, but Saturn's like, hey there, whoa, Nelly, time to kind of settle back, think twice. This week ends with Saturn also in opposition to the sun. And this could really deepen our frustrations as the resistance widens through our life. So really kind of maybe giving our ego and our confidence a little bit of a hit, because, again, an opposition is another one of those aspects in astrology where the Saturn and the sun are going to just be kind of doing this dance of like two magnets that won't go together. They're the same, magnetic energy, and they won't magnetize each other, but instead they're pushing against each other. That's opposition. And the sun is our ego. It's our pride. It's like what we really want to be. And so we have this square with Mars that's going to make us a little bit disjointed, a little bit frustrated, stops our forward momentum, makes us think twice. We'll feel that constriction in our energy, and then hit with Saturn opposing our suns, which might make our confidence feel a little bit flustered and like we just can't get out of our own way. It's kind of the energy happening this week. So we have 3 hot tips for you this week to help you along your way. The first one is when you're feeling resistance and frustration this week, try to reflect and journal on the lessons that Saturn is showing you. Are your goals in harmony with your authentic self? Are you honestly in a position to be able to integrate your intentions you have made into your life at this time? Something to think about. Feel that resistance. Try to learn from what boundaries and barriers Saturn puts in your way. Write them down, think on them, journal on them. Have some strategies. Well, actually, number two, have some strategies ready for how you will cope with frustrations and challenges this week. So, oftentimes we get frustrations, we want to lash out and maybe make excuses or take it out on other people. Think of healthy ways to get this frustration out. Maybe it's going for a walk or a hike, or throwing art on a canvas, or ripping up old newspapers to throw into a fire. Just doing something healthy to get those frustrations out. Screaming into a pillow, whatever it may be for you, do it up. And take some note on which ones make you feel the best. And our last tip for this week is to remember that others around you may be feeling and demonstrating the same frustrations and ego challenges. So try not to respond with your own frustrations. Let the energy pass and then revisit later. So remember, this is something that's happening in the sky for everybody. So you may be feeling held back. You may be feeling resistance. Your ego may be suffering a little bit, but so might the people around you. And depending on their birth charts and their placements in their sky, it might be a little bit worse, it might be a little bit better. But to have space for everybody and know that this shall pass and it will not be forever. And to take a deep cleansing breath and maybe tackle some things at another time and revisit later. So, in summary, Saturn is squaring Mars, and that's going to feel tough. And then Saturn is going to oppose our suns, which is going to even feel a little bit more it's going to feel a little bit more intimate and personal. It's going to feel a little bit more personal.
Think about what life would look like if you had the foundation to do the shadow work, understand where you're holding yourself back, and the confidence to bring some everyday magic elements into your life, follow your intuition, and know exactly the steps forward for you. Well, that's what we teach you and more in our Holistic Witchery program. Be sure to get on the wait list for Holistic Witchery. It's the one class we think everybody should take here at the Sisters Enchanted. It has changed so many lives and is at the core of all of our fundamental beliefs about who we are and how we propel ourselves forward in a way that makes great change for ourselves and those around us. Check out holisticwitchery.com, get on the wait list, and we can't wait to welcome you into class just as soon as enrollment opens.
So take it with a grain of salt. Be gentle with yourself this week. Journal out those frustrations, find healthy outlets, and wait for the week to pass before you get burnt out and just so frustrated that you give up. Because like I said, this too shall pass. So some card pulls for this week. Let's see. We are going to do the Two of Swords. This is the Modern Witch Tarot, by the way. The Two of Swords and the Page of Wands. So the Two of Swords is really this reminder of not letting, your mind get in the way of things, and really getting to like the heart of the problem so that you can really be intuitive of the next steps forward, which I think is a really great card to pop up for this week, because it is really a practice in patience and like sitting with yourself and not having like heart reactive emotions that can sometimes happen, especially when there's, an ego. Saturn is opposing your ego. But to like really think and not say the first thing that comes to your mind, but think and sit and then make the best choice, cut through the bullshit, for lack of a better word to say, before moving forward. And then that Page of Wands here is that start of fire energy. And for me, this sounds like a reminder to, instead of embodying like the King of Wands or the Knight of Wands that will go forward at all cost, that the Page of Wands is a reminder not to stop, because this opposition with your ego, Saturn and Sun, and this Saturn and Mars square might make you want to stop and pause. It might make you so frustrated that you don't have the passion or motivation or gumption to keep going. But that this Page of Wands is like, no, keep the fire burning. Maybe slow down. Maybe you have to slow down. Maybe you need a minute, but don't give up. Keep the fire lit, even if it's just an ember. Be patient with yourself. Don't get in your own way. Keep the embers going, but do it with, preciseness, with thought, without having a reaction, whether it be a mental reaction that comes quickly or a heart reaction that comes quickly. Sit and think, come to a decision, and be patient with yourself, and don't get burnt out. Keep the embers going, but when you're feeling the stress of that square and that opposition that's coming to you, to give yourself some grace and keep your fire lit, but don't burn yourself out, and don't try to push so hard against these planetary elements that are urging you to slow down and kind of take a step back. Don't let yourself get frustrated. Take that moment, take a deep breath, keep your passion alive, and wait for this energy to pass through just a little bit so that you don't get frustrated or take your frustrations out on your projects or others around you. So, everybody, that is your astro forecast for this week. Again, it's for the week of August 8th. And as I said earlier, I'm Anna with the Sisters Enchanted. And thank you again for joining us on another episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast. And again, this is your astrology forecast. And we hope to see you again next week. We hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead.
If you liked this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast, please rate, review, subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it will really help us spread everyday magic, intention, and intuition to the masses and helps us so much as a small business. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. There are new episodes every Tuesday and astro forecasts for the week ahead every Friday. If there's any topics you'd want to hear, anything you want us to dive deeper into, shoot us an email at magic@thesistersenchanted.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening and being part of the community here at the Sisters Enchanted. And we'll see you in the next episode.